Welcome to Trial by Wine. We take a closer look at crimes that highlight how fascinating humans can be. Schmitty, Swanee and Clarky visit crimes and run them through their jury of three, debating both sides of the case to agree an appropriate, if totally fictitious, sentence. Please be advised, Trial by Wine may include explicit or disturbing content and will include drunken rambling. Listener discretion is advised. Are we?
Very well, thank you.
Great. Yes, lovely to see your faces.
Got any news?
30 years for us since we met. That's not bad.
Congratulations.
Isn't that fabulous?
Yeah, we're
Long time.
pretty excited about it. Our joke is gay years like dog years, so really it's 210 years.
And what will you do to mark the 30 years?
We've been having a bit of a festival all month, so we went and did dinner on the 9th floor of Eureka Tower in Melbourne. I think we told you about that.
Yeah,
Yep.
you mentioned that.
We went away last weekend.
Because I had it in somewhere in Central Victoria.
You roll.
That's right. Yeah,
Glen Rowan.
Glen
I
Rowan.
forgot about that.
Glen Rowan.
Yeah.
Glen Rowan Tower.
We've done a nice lunch at Stanley Pub, just a few things to celebrate rather than one big thing.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yes.
Do you
What
have
about
any
you
news for me? I
two?
don't think I do.
I've got no news. I'm just a workaholic.
You look a bit peeved.
You look like you're about to nut someone.
You do look like you're about to go fucking nuts. Lucky you're not in a car, I think.
I just got to, it's just every day's a joy. That's all.
Really?
Pity the poor person who's going to get sentenced by you tonight,
Yes.
judging by that face.
Not much news. I suppose we should introduce ourselves then. I'm Schmitty.
I'm Swanee.
And I'm Clarky, and together we are
Trial.
Bye.
Wine.
And what are we drinking?
Go on, Swanee. Tell us about your not wine.
Well,
Yeah,
this
what have you got
one's
for not wine?
it's my not wine. I've got this today.
What is that? San Pellegrino, right?
No.
It's Santa
budget
Vittoria.
What's an Aldi one?
Well, it wasn't. I just got it. Where did I get it? Woolies. Yes, it's
Yeah.
no, Coles is it $2.15. I'm on budget.
Bargain.
Cost of
$2.15.
living crisis. It's the poor man's
San Pellegrino.
San Pellegrino. It's in a green bottle.
It's massive too.
It's
so
huge.
you've got
It's
a
like
big
1.5
bottle for bargain price.
You're here all
Absolutely.
night.
There were only
You
3
would've
left,
only
and I snapped them all up.
Snapped them
Trust
all
me.
up.
I did.
Your
And they were
bladders
right up
and
the very
funky
back.
later.
And I had to, they were at the very top shelf, and I had to do the check to see if it was going to be able to handle my weight. So I was like scrambling up to pull them down. I was like, that is true cost of living crisis.
Like, I don't want to wish it upon you, but imagine if you did that and all the shelves fell
Well,
down.
I did do a little test first, and there wasn't really much left on any of the shelves. So if it had to come down, it would have been awkward, but not horrendous, I think. Anyway, as exciting as that
planning
is,
ahead.
what's everyone else having? Averting crisis, averting danger.
Boys, what are you drinking?
We are having a not wine, but it's a vodka and grapefruit juice. So we found
Okay.
not grapefruit juice. It's like a grapefruit soft drink. It's a Cappy or a whatever it is.
Say a Paloma nearly, but with tequila.
It's quite delicious. Oh,
It
I could have
is.
had a tequila instead. Didn't think
So
of that.
there's like a cocktail that they used to serve in a couple of places around here. Then they stopped. I don't know why.
Dickheads.
Yeah,
Rude.
absolutely. That's weak. Because it was
Fuckers.
kind of like a sort of a halfway to a margarita. Because it had the tequila and it had that sort of citrus sort of kind of thing with the Cappy grapefruit soda. No salt on the rim, but maybe a bit of soda. So it was really nice. And then everyone asked for a Paloma and they're like, nah, but that's because it's got grapefruit soda. I think that'd be very nice, boys. Yum.
Very
Cheers.
refreshing. What
I
about
bet.
you, Schmitty? You drinking
Well,
something to put a smile on your face?
I'm just finishing a vodka and solo and make my own hard. Yeah. with
Make
my
yourself
hard.
hard.
And then I'm going to move on to, what do you call it? Leftovers? What do you call it
Yeah.
when you've got... Yeah, so I found a bottle of Ara Sauvignon Blanc single estate in
Gosh.
the fridge, which had
How
already
long's that been
opened.
there?
God knows. Well, we had I got a bit overexcited when I bought a dozen of these recently, and I think we've just keep opening them. So we've now fed this is the third bottle that I found that was open, not tonight, over the course of a week. And so I'm finishing off the last one, and hang on, I should test it. Still drinkable. No, it's okay. It's not off. I've got to tell you
That's
though,
good.
this has become my all-time favourite Sauvignon Blanc. So it's from Picton region in Marlborough, and it is...
Are you talking about New Zealand now?
Yeah, New Zealand. It
You
is.
fancy
I'm not
folk.
really. Well, I've never really liked the New Zealand Marlboros, and because I don't know why, there's something about them. And I discovered years ago when I was in New Zealand, in Tasmania with Mum, I discovered Ninth Island, and I quite like that. And I used to like Shaw and Smith, so they're both a different kind of profile, taste profile. And
Is that a play on Sharon Smith?
No, it's Shaw and Smith. And they...
I don't
Sharon?
drink wine, but
Yeah.
I recognise
Well, I
it.
don't know if they're still good, but I used to really like them. I think about it, what I like about it, the kind of Sauvignon Blanc that I like tends to have this sort of fresh citrus palate, and it's not oaky, it's not weighed down by anything, and it's not, vile. So I've got to tell you, I think this is by far one of the most drinkable Sauvignon Blancs I've found in ages. And every time I say to someone, try this, it's delicious, they agree with me. So it's going down well.
They're just scared of you, but yeah, I'm sure
There is that too. But I've got a couple of glasses in this bottle left, so that's what I'm going to drink today.
Well, you just sit back and relax, darling.
Who's going to tell us a story on that note?
Could I?
I'd
Oh,
love
please
you
do.
to.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Grouse. So I'm going to tell you, for want of a better word, an Aussie classic. And I promise you that is a really bad way of saying it. So I should preface it by saying it's probably one of the most horrific things that's happened
Oh, is it in Adelaide?
in Australia. It's not. Don't worry, you're safe.
Oh, it's not that. No, I wasn't thinking that. I was thinking the other one that we still haven't covered.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You're safe because you've been working on one that...
No, I'm not. I was talking about
Another
Snowtown, and I haven't.
Oh, yeah, right. No, it's not that. But it's
there
right
with
up there. Yes. So I will get straight into it. It's pretty...
Is
it's
it in
pretty
Victoria, like where all the crazy
It is.
I'm telling you.
And
You
sorry,
people.
I'd like to call out. I was listening to the radio the other day, and apparently Victoria's crime has spiked exponentially comparative to New South Wales. I can't remember what the stats were, but it was like if New South Wales has reduced their crime to 100,000 burglaries and bad shits, we're up to like 200,000 at the moment.
Well,
So-
I can tell you now, Schmitty, we drive from Victoria to New South Wales every day, and we breathe a sigh of relief every time we cross the border because we've made it safely. Because it's like fucking
The bad land.
guerrilla warfare in Victoria, and New South Wales, it's like
nice and calm, and a high police
the yellow brick
presence,
road
perchance.
in New South Wales.
Do you notice more police? Or...
There's no difference, to be honest.
There's no
It makes
need
sense.
for them.
All the crazy shit happens in Melbourne. We all know that.
Does it ever? There's so many stabbings and shootings and shit at the moment.
I love that we just banned machetes in Victoria.
No, we
course.
know Glen Rowan.
In my mind, a crime map of Melbourne, and then how it sort of spreads out from that. That's how I'll see Victoria from going forward.
Yeah, well, this one is probably already on your map.
Really?
It's yeah. But if not, I'll tell you all about it. So I'll go give you my sources first, all bar one, because
in London?
No. In fact, I'll tell
The
you
slug
it
and
anyway.
lettuce?
So the famous cock. We've got a photo of us out the front of the famous cock, which is just a pub with a big rooster on
Big
it.
rooster, yep.
Come on. Rightio, so sources are Wikipedia, news.com.au, 9news.com.au, The Age, abc.com.au, and spoiler alert, julianknight.com.au.
Oh, okay, right.
That's
So-
not a spoiler for me yet.
Okay, it won't be a spoiler for lots of people who are
Oh, in the
outside
dark.
Victoria,
Yeah.
but I will start by telling you Julian Knight is he's a perpetrator of one of the worst crimes, events, massacres in
Yeah,
Australia, the Hoddle Street massacre.
yeah.
Righty.
Not to be
Yes,
confused
yes.
with the Hoddle Street that I lived on for the better part of
Correct.
50 years.
Different Hoddle Street.
Street.
Same name,
Different location.
different location. Yeah.
This is really going back into my childhood, perhaps, is it?
Mhm.
It is, yeah. So it all took place in 1987, I believe. I'll get to that a bit later. But so I just thought it was a good one to just sort of go back and reflect on the horror of it, because it is an event that led to the gun laws being changed. That and the Port Arthur massacre both
I was going to say
happened.
Port Arthur had a really significant effect.
Yeah. So that was when the government just went,
Enough's enough, you motherfuckers.
Yeah.
It's like they've done with
and-
machetes, basically. So
and
that was a
thank
good
you for
segue.
doing that. Yeah, it was very good. So Julian Knight was born on the 4th of March, 1968. The eldest of his three, well, he was one of three siblings, and he was the eldest.
He's young.
I was just thinking that. I'm really surprised at how young he is.
He was 19.
He was only 19.
My God.
Don't even joke about it, Schmitty. That is literally one of the things that
Came out of it.
he would say.
Okay, right.
We'll get to that. So when he was 10 days old, he was adopted by a family with strong army ties. As a result, he often moved around as a child, living in Puckapunyal, Schmitty, only 19 reference, which for those of you who don't know is a small Victorian town, very heavily army.
Yeah.
As well as Puckapunyal, who lived in Malaysia, Hong Kong, Singapore, all the routes that army people would go through. So in 1975,
so he turned into
his
Jack
family.
Reacher.
Well, I haven't seen it, so I can't tell you. But I can tell you that in 1975, his family settled in Laverton in Victoria, and Julian attended Laverton Primary School until 1978.
Is that in Melbourne or is that like a...
That's in Melbourne.
It's in Melbourne.
Yep.
It's a little bit out.
It's west, yeah. So his parents
and it
divorced
been
in...
pretty not good in 1975.
Probably would have been fairly
countryish.
remote.
Yeah, quite countryish and quite remote.
Like outskirts of town kind of thing.
Well, outskirts in 1975.
Okay. Market gardens and stuff, I would have thought.
Yeah.
So his parents divorced in 1980 when he was 12, and he attended 3 different high schools: Westbourne Grammar School, Fitzroy High School, and later Melbourne High School, which, for those of you who don't know Melbourne High School, is an exclusive high school which selects its students by academic examination.
Yeah, they were all quite good schools. Well, not about Fitzroy, but the other 2 were quite good schools.
Correct. So an entry written in the 1985 Melbourne High School yearbook referred to him as Julian Swappo Knight and said that he inherited the role of Cadet Unit Looney and Chief Political Agitator. That's important.
When did Rambo come out?
Oh, it would have been around then.
Because I know that
probably earlier, actually.
Because whenever that sort of stuff came out, everyone was a little bit like they'd call people Rambo and give them shit at school. I kind of remember that type of person.
I reckon First Blood was probably 79 or 80 or thereabouts. And
really?
Then there was there's like 150 of them, I think, where
it's probably right.
You know, you'd lose track of what's what, but I think they were around that 1980. Can't be sure.
Yeah, okay.
So while at Westbourne, he was known for his fascination with guns and the military, with strong interests in Nazi Germany and World War II. In 1986, he attended La Trobe University to study French and German history and politics.
Mm.
At the age of 14...
Nothing wrong with that as an alumni of La Trobe University?
Yes. At the age of 14, he joined the Australian Army Cadets and served in 2 cadet units, the Norwood Secondary College Cadet Unit, which surprised me because I would have thought that was an Adelaide thing, but I could be wrong, and the Melbourne High School Cadet Unit. He enlisted in the Army Reserve at 17 while still at high school, serving as a trooper in the 4th 19th Prince of Wales Light Horse Regiment, an armoured reconnaissance unit. On the 13th of January 1987, he went on to Duntroon Military College at the age of 18.
Yeah.
Canberra. Yep.
Canberra. Because he was a super trooper.
Beams are gonna blind him, but he won't feel blue.
Was this going to go on a rampage? Anyway.
He had long dreamed of a military career, and this was a dream come true. He gained good grades in weapons expertise exercises, but performed poorly at the rest of his studies.
And his psychological exams.
Well, funny you should say that.
Right.
Because after an incident in which he stabbed his superior, a sergeant, whilst he was drinking...
Here we go.
He was advised to leave the army in July 1987.
When I say here we go, I could have said here we go at any time in the last 7 minutes while you've been telling us this guy's background. But we're already starting to see escalated violence and lack of capability of managing his own responses to things.
And fascination with guns, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, love a good gun. Got to love a good...
So,
not everyone who likes a gun, though, goes on...
Of course not.
Goes the wrong way, put it that way.
Yeah, and keep that thought in mind, because not everyone who's had life as he claims to have had has gone on to do what he does either.
And I think also that, again, we do this, and I like that we do this, there is a cultural context. Yeah. At the time that we're talking about, lots of people had guns, my family included.
Correct.
And lots of people liked guns and saw no issue with it. And we were a bit of a mini America in those days. So nowadays we all go, oh, guns, terrible, oh, bad. But at the time... it was like whatever. I think you did that. Didn't you do that story about the rampage in, was it WA or Northern Territory? It was the same thing. The weird German guy who showed up and bought all the guns
came
and went out
into Queensland and drove to. Yeah.
But and we said, how do you go into a gun shop and buy all of that ammo and no one questions it? But it was at the time probably not that odd. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. So, his dream was to get into military college, and he lasted
15 minutes.
6 months. So, yeah, after drinking and stabbing his superior, he was asked to leave the army, which cut short his military career. He was sent back to Melbourne on the 24th of July, and upon his return to Melbourne, his girlfriend advised him that she no longer wanted to be with him. He also found that his mother, on whom he had always relied, had changed his bedroom into a second living room, which meant he had nowhere to stay. It's all a bit Cigarette Sally, isn't it?
He's just been rejected on all the levels. What's the film? Is it Failure to Launch, where the parents are desperately trying to get their son out? You know,
is that Matthew McConaughey?
Yeah. Jessica.
Yeah.
Sarah Jessica Parker.
Sarah Jessica Parker. And don't they like turn his room, like the minute he's out, they turn it into like a sex room or something? I don't know. That rings a bell.
Yeah,
I'm not
right.
sure if it's that, but that's what they want to do anyway.
Yeah, well, that's not quite what happened here.
No,
but,
it's just a lounge. Well, I mean, we don't know what went on in that lounge room. A bit of lounge.
So, furthermore, he had no money and no experience working to earn a decent wage. His mum, however, did set up a temporary bedroom for him in front of her home at 6 Ramsden Street, Clifton Hill.
Hang on, did she put him in a caravan?
No, a temporary bedroom for him in the front of her home. So
in the front of her home?
Literally,
I meant like on the garden.
Yeah, not in the garden. No, literally in the front room.
I thought we were going back to, what was your guy? Shameless Phil and his sex caravan at the front. Yeah, sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
We've done too many stories.
Shameless Mick, I know.
Shameless Mick, sorry. And his,
Not to be confused with Lucky Phil.
Not to be confused at all. Yeah, sorry.
Right. This room is where Julian awoke around 11 a.m. on Sunday, the 9th of August, and this is the date. So I'll tell you a little bit about what happened on that day.
Really quickly after he gets out of the army.
100%. So,
like,
yeah.
What, 10, what did you say? What of August?
He got back to Melbourne on the 24th of July.
Right.
So, yeah, what's that, 16 days or...
Fuck.
Yeah, which day are we talking about now?
9th of August now.
9th of August, okay.
So on that day, between about 1 p.m. and 4 p.m., he was at his grandmother's house in Hawthorne attending a belated birthday party for his mum. During this time, he consumed 2 cans of beer. So nothing substantial.
Oh, I don't know. They would have been big. Remember the old Fosters?
Yeah, the steel cans.
And would have been a lot stronger too than what we're drinking today. But yeah.
Yeah, but also only 2.
I didn't know that.
Only 2. He left the party in his own car, driving his sister home before driving around Clifton Hill.
Where's Clifton Hill, guys?
It's
kind of north of Melbourne. Yeah, it's northeast, but literally
on the side of the city.
Clifton Hill, Collingwood City kind of thing. At around 5 p.m, he went to see his ex-girlfriend, dropping off a magazine to her. He was only there for about 5 minutes, and he left to continue driving aimlessly. However, shortly after this, the gearbox of his car jammed in second gear. Now, we were talking about all of the challenges he'd been through already.
Fuck it, 1987 and his car's fucked, that's it. I'm going nuts.
This was his only asset, deepening his woes. He managed to slowly drive his car home, where he drank another can of beer, angered by his misfortune. Then he walked to his local, the nearby Royal Hotel, arriving at about 5:30. Just before 9 p.m, so now he's had a solid stint.
Mm-hmm.
He was definitely feeling the effects of the beer he'd been consuming, and he had a vision of soldiers being ambushed. Feeling that this was his call to arms, he left the hotel and ran back to his mother's house, where he ran into his sister in the front, briefly speaking to her. Once she left to go back to the back of the house where she was watching TV with his mum, he went upstairs to his mother's bedroom, because this is where his, and Schmitty, to your point around cultural context, his legally owned and licensed weapons were kept under the bed.
Yeah, under the bed, not even in a gun cabinet.
No, what? No one had that back then.
In fairness,
if you had gone under the bed in the houseboat, that's where the 303 and 202 were.
Yeah.
It was just...
Not surprised. It was a
used
standard
to shoot
spot.
rabbits and shit, and it was all under the bed, yeah. And when we cleaned out after, even when I renovated the boat, right? So Dad had already passed away and he'd been gone for 10 years. I was still finding cartridges of bullets. The amount of bullets that I took out of the boat was outrageous. And Tony's like, what do we do with this? I'm like, I don't know. I still don't know. I think they're still somewhere, because I'm like, I don't know what to do with them. Do you give them to the police? You can't put them in the bin. What if they go off when they crush the rubbish?
Jesus.
What do you do with them? Anyway.
Put them back under the bed, I guess. Is that where they probably still are?
He had quite an arsenal, and I don't know much about guns, so I'm going to tell you what he had. It sounds like a lot. .177 caliber Daisy BB air rifle.
That sounds like nothing. That's just for shooting cats.
.177 caliber Chinese air rifle.
Again, not a high caliber, yeah.
A .177 caliber Crossman model 7.66 air rifle.
They're all air rifles. They're shooting
A
cats.
22 caliber Ruger
Now we're
model.
talking. Yep.
No, we're
That's
not
for killing
done yet.
people. Yep.
Yep.
And
that was a
kangaroos.
semi-automatic rifle. 12-gauge Mossberg pump-action shotgun.
Bingo.
And a Chinese-made... I don't know if this is right because I've...
Do you get it from Temu?
Well, not in 87, but yeah.
I know. Gene.
Chinese-made... I've got 7.62 caliber, but I think it may be... It's .762 caliber... But
I don't know. That
M14
sounds like a gun
semi-automatic
expert.
military rifle. So
Oh yeah, that's a fucking kill people gun. Yeah, yeah. So he's got a
Correct.
couple of like just hurt people guns, and he's got a couple of kill people guns.
it's like I've got something like 6 knives in my knife collection, and they all have different purposes. Some of them
One's
are
a
good for
fish
chopping
knife,
up little things.
one's
Some
a
of them are
bread
good
knife,
for chopping up big
One's a carving
things.
knife. One's
Yeah,
a
yeah.
filleting
He's
knife.
got that, but for guns.
He does. He's got a pairing. He's got 3 pairing knives there, and
That's right.
then he's got 3 whopping fucking
3
carving knives
One of
and
those.
1 cleaver.
Machete.
Yeah, cleaver.
Yeah, cleaver. That's what I was thinking. Maybe a machete. I don't know. Anyway, obviously just the essentials for whatever stuff he wants to do. Obviously, he didn't need all of those, so he just grabbed the Ruger, the Mossberg, and the M14, along with an ammunition
carry
box.
everything.
Right. Of
I
course
mean,
he
that's
can't.
6 rifles. I mean, you could really reasonably only put one on over the shoulder or one in your hands. Don't you think?
The point is, he left the paring knives at home.
Okay,
That was what
right.
I was going to get to.
Right.
Yeah.
Because they're for
Yeah.
shooting cats.
Right. So he had an ammunition box, a leather shotgun, cartridge belt, and then he went back to the front room to load them all. Once they were all loaded, he stuffed 100 rounds of ammunition into his pockets, including a suicide bullet, which he placed in the front right-hand pocket of his jeans, and a black combat knife down the back of his jeans. So that was because his plan was to do what he wanted to do and then off himself afterwards.
Is that a common thing to put a little one aside for yourself?
Only if you want to commit suicide afterwards, I'm assuming. I'm
And if you're
not
mad.
the expert.
He's mad at this point.
Mad as in crazy or mad as in angry? Or both?
Both. No, like, not mad people don't have this reaction to the world. But he is mad. He's angry. His mum
Yes.
turned his bedroom into a lounge.
And his
Cigarette,
gearbox.
Sally?
Like,
And a gearbox.
the gearbox is the straw that broke the camel's back.
Well, the girlfriend saying she doesn't want to see him anymore, massive. He slung the M14 over his back and picked up the Mossberg and the Ruger before stepping out into Ramsden Street. He ran down Ramsden Street, crossed the nearby railway line and reached Hoddle Street. Now, for our listeners who don't know, Hoddle Street is one of Melbourne's main
Very
arterials.
busy.
It's like
Yeah.
4 lanes either way. It connects Melbourne's inner north to the inner south. So even in the 80s on a Sunday night, there's plenty of cars around. Now I'm going.
And that was
to
based
run...
on proximity, just because it was just nearby?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And busy, and if he's going to do what he wants to do, I guess he needs somewhere like that.
Okay.
I'm going to run through what happened on the night, and it's probably going to be a little bit in depth and also maybe a little bit clinical because there's a lot that happened, a lot of names of people who he impacted. I kind of ummed and ahed over this, but I think it's important because of...
Fuck, it's the Red Ripper all over again, isn't it?
Well, kind of, but a lot quicker and not 66 people. But it's important because of what he's kind of claiming now. There's a bit that plays out at the end of the story that I want your thoughts on, but I think you need to know this bit so that you can comment. So at 9:30 from the nature strip on the east side of the road, hang in there and I will tell you what happened. If you need a break, just let me know. So at 9:30 from the nature strip on the east side of the road, he started firing on passing cars with his Ruger rifle. The first car that he opened fire on contained a married couple, Con and Rita Vitkos. Rita received minor wounds and her husband drove on before stopping at a mobile service station about 150 metres further south down Hoddle Street. Anyone who knows the area knows the service station.
Mm.
We've all been there a million times.
Mm-hmm.
So following the Vitkos' car was a car containing Michael Anthony and Trevor Smearley and a car driven by Gregory Elliott. A bullet struck Elliott's vehicle, narrowly missing his head. Both of these cars were damaged, but none of the occupants were wounded. Following Gregory Elliott's car was a vehicle driven by Alan Jury and containing Monica Vitelli and Daniela Mina. They were both wounded, and they joined the others at the mobile service station. Knight fired rapid bursts at each car, and he reloaded with spare 10-round Ruger magazines as he moved north along the nature strip towards nearby Clifton Hill railway station. He ensured that he fired on every south and northbound vehicle as it passed. The next car he fired
in
on...
the interest of fairness, of course.
Oh, well, one doesn't like to judge. Is that what you mean? Or discriminate?
Just like, yeah, I have to...
It wasn't he was going, that's a shit
He
box.
ensured that he shot at everyone equally.
Well, he just doesn't want to miss an opportunity.
Fucking hell.
Like, it's bad. So, where did I get to? The next car he fired on contained Raywin Crichton, Bernd Michael, and Diane Arnold, who all escaped injury. The following car was driven by Sand Wang, who received minor wounds. The next car was driven by Diane Fitzpatrick, who received a serious back wound. The next 3 cars to be shot at contained Michael Pearce and Jacqueline Langosh, Isaac Lohman, and Reginald Dutton and Dana Sabolki, respectively, and they all escaped injury. So he's firing on a lot of cars.
Do we know what period of time this is? Like, is it minutes or a minute or based on
Glad you asked. 5 minutes later, at 9:35, he ran out of ammunition for the Ruger. So he dropped that on the nature strip and commenced firing with the Mossberg.
Was that
the loud blast...
Pump action shotgun?
Yeah. The loud blasts of the shotgun alerted residents to the shooting, and the first calls were made to Victoria's Police Emergency Communications Centre.
Okay, so that was finally, there was something that people could detect.
Loud enough, people are going, what the hell?
Well, 22 is not that quiet, but I can appreciate that a boom of a shotgun is much louder. And then you might have heard pop, pop, pop and thought, what was that? Fireworks, and then you heard boom. You thought, no, that's gunshots. Yeah.
Also, it's only 5 minutes, right? So if you start hearing
it's really
that,
fast,
you'd be going. You might go out and go, "What the hell's that?"
Yeah, see, I'd run out going fireworks, because I love fireworks. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's Clifton Hill, and that's close enough to the city to
exactly.
hear.
To think that, well, it's 1980 something, but I love a firework, so I'd be running straight towards the badness. Yeah.
So the first car to be hit was driven by Sharon Maunder, who did not receive any injuries and did not realise the front of her car had been hit.
Was she driving a Kingswood by any chance?
I mean, could have been a Datsun.
I reckon my dad could have driven past that in the Kingswood HQ or HZ and not noticed. That was a tank of a car. Anyway.
Yeah. The next car to be hit was driven by Vesna Markovska, who received minor wounds, followed by a car driven by her fiancé, Zoran Trajetsky, who also received minor wounds.
Do you know how far he is from these vehicles? He's on the side of the road.
He's on the side of the road, so he's very close, yes.
It depends on whether or not he's on the side of the road that he's shooting into these cars. Or
which side of the road they're on.
Yeah.
Correct.
Because if he's using a shotgun, then the shot will have dispersed a bit on the other side of the road, further away.
Also, I'm assuming he's not waiting till they're right next to him. He's shooting at them so if they are on the right side, he's shooting as they drive towards him, not waiting and doing it from as close as he can. I'm assuming that. They both parked their cars by the side of the road and got out to take cover. As they did so, a car driven by Georgina Papayannou stopped on the opposite side of the street. Knight immediately opened fire on her car, and she was slightly wounded. Soon afterwards, a car driven by Jane Morris alongside Kay Edwards and Cicely Corliss drove south through the ambush zone. So the police obviously had been called, and they stopped further down Hoddle Street. So the ones who I just mentioned flagged down police who were on their way in a divisional van containing Constables Glenn Nichols and Belinda Bourchier. I'm murdering a lot of names tonight. Apologies for that. And pardon the pun. That's bad too. God. And informed them about the shootings. So Nichols and Bourchier immediately drove to the scene with their lights and siren as they radioed details. Soon after 9:38, they reached the intersection of Hoddle Street and Ramsden Street, where they were shot at by Knight. He continued to change position as he fired at a procession of 4 single-occupant cars, which, in chronological order, were driven by Matthew Morrow, Edward McShortle, Trevor Robinson, and Keith Wing Shing. McShortle received minor wounds, but Wing Shing, who stopped his car opposite Knight, received serious jaw and throat wounds.
Jesus.
Knight continued to reload and change position as he continued to fire at the passing cars. The next car he fired at was a car containing Kevin Skinner and wife Tracy and their son Adam. Tracy was killed instantly by a bullet to the face, and Adam, who was on her lap below the windowsill, received minor glass wounds. Following this, a local resident, Peter Kermy, and a friend of his, John Muscat, approached the scene from the western side of the street. Knight fired one shot at them, which fatally wounded Muscat in the head and chest, which seriously wounded Kermy. Immediately after this, the attendant at the nearby swimming pool, Steve White, ran to their aid and was seriously wounded by Knight's final shotgun blast.
What a prick. Oh.
Like, it's bad.
There is a parallel to the Port Arthur, isn't there? It's just this.
Yeah. So it's now, Swanee, 9:39, so 9 minutes. And numerous police units were rushing to the scene.
So all of that's it. He's out of ammunition now?
He's out of ammunition from the Mossberg, which is why he drops it and takes up prone firing position with his M40.
With his third cleaver. He's on the third cleaver.
So this is
what
the
does
big
that
one.
mean?
The big knife. He's on the big
knife.
knife.
Right, okay. He's on his third. Okay,
using the analogy of paring knives.
That's fine.
He's on his third one. Yeah.
Okay.
What does that mean? You should see your face. What?
I was
What's
like,
a cleaver?
I thought it was like gun chat, and I was like,
this is the Chinese one, yeah? This is the Timor Sheen.
Well, no, there's lots of Chinese ones. So
what's he?
Hang on, let me guess.
He's used the Ruger, not Chinese.
He's used the Ruger, the Mossberg.
Mossberg is not Chinese. So the last one was the Chinese.
Yeah, it is a Chinese made. Yeah, right. So, well done. So at this point, Vesna Markovska broke cover from behind her car and made for the footpath on the eastern side of Hoddle Street.
Vesna, don't go.
As she stepped onto the footpath, she was spotted by Knight, who fired a shot which seriously wounded her.
Vesna.
When she fell back onto the roadway, Knight fired 2 further shots which killed her.
Oh, fuck's sake.
It's now 9:40 and D24 notified the police air wing that one of their aerospatial Dauphin police helicopters was needed to assist the police at the scene. Moments later, in a break in the firing, one of the police officers on the western side of Hoddle Street fired a shot at Knight, which missed him by a couple of metres. Immediately following this shot, Robert Mitchell, who had driven through the ambush zone unscathed and parked his car further down Hoddle Street, ran up the eastern side of the street in an attempt to render assistance to the fallen Markovska. As he reached her and came to a halt, Knight quickly fired a shot at him, which hit him in the right side of his head and killed him instantly.
Oh.
So at 9:41, as 3 police units took up positions in Mayor's Park on the western side of Hoddle Street, the other police units took up positions in the surrounding area, opened fire on a car driven by Jacqueline Turner and on Papaionou as she walked from her car to help Markovska and Mitchell. Turner's car was not hit, but Papaionou was fatally wounded in the left side as she reached Markovska. Following this, Knight fired on a car driven by John Finn, who received minor wounds. The next car he shot at was driven by Andrew Hack, who was seriously wounded in the left side. Following Hack was a car driven by Dusan Fleznik, which Knight fired at. Fleznik was hit in the left side and bled to death in his car. At 9:43, Constable Bourchier requested another ambulance from D24 and nominated a mobile service station as a safe rendezvous point for ambulances as 2 more police units arrived there. The next car to be shot at contained Michael Smith and Jacqueline Meegans. Smith received minor wounds whilst Meegans was seriously wounded in the shoulder.
Why haven't they closed the road at this point?
It's 10 minutes or 15 minutes. But
you got police on site.
You think they have somebody further?
I think that they would say go 400 metres up the road and shut the road. Stop people going through.
They only got there a couple of minutes ago, so they'd still be going, what the fuck? How do we even manage this?
Yeah, right.
I'm
not blaming the police. I'm just asking.
I know, but if you think about that time frame, you've got to kind of work out what the hell's going on.
And we didn't have this happen regularly either.
No, I think it would have been such a shock. I think now it'd be different, and the way it'd be communicated would be quicker and different. What we'd be able to see.
We've got different technologies
too.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
There's got to be a bit of a lag back then. Gosh.
And then some.
So as they were fired upon, the first 2 ambulances arrived at the scene. One at the mobile service station and one at Mayor's Park. It was now 9:44, and the next car to be shot at was driven by Stephen Mihalidis, who escaped unscathed. Immediately after, Knight fired at the rider of a motorcycle, Kenneth Shane Stanton, who was hit in the left leg and fell onto the roadway. As he lay there, Knight shot at him a further 2 times and he eventually died. 45, a car containing Dimitrios Kolivas, Renata Coldabella, Danny Coldabella and Danny DeLuca followed Stanton down Hoddle Street. Knight, who was by this time besides the southern end of the Clifton Hill railway station buildings, fired a shot at the front of the car. The car stopped, and as it reversed back up the street, Knight fired 2 more shots at it before it crashed into a police car driven by Constable Dominic Canizzaro, which had just arrived at the scene. The first shot that Knight had fired into the car had slightly wounded Renata, and the second shot he fired had seriously wounded Danny Caldabella. As Colivas's car was reversing, a motorcycle ridden by Wayne Timms and Jane Timbury, followed by a car containing Alexandra Stamatopoulos, Stephen Stamatopoulos, Irene Funtus, Vicky Funtus, and Panagiotti Funtus, drove into the ambush zone and stopped opposite Colivas's car. At this point, Knight, who was surrounded by at least 40 armed police officers, decided to withdraw from the area and began hunting police officers. So it was now still sort of 9:45-ish, and it expended 40 rounds of 22 caliber bullets, 25 rounds of 12-gauge buckshot, and 32 rounds of 7.62 millimeter caliber bullets in the preceding 15 minutes. 9:30, 15 minutes. 5 people lay dead, 2 were fatally wounded, and a further 17 had been wounded. So the two that were fatally wounded, obviously not dead yet, but were to die.
In time.
In addition to the expended ammunition, Knight had lost his suicide bullet.
No.
Yep.
And this is Victoria Police. I'm amazed that he hasn't been shot dead yet.
Well, they went through their shooting phase after this. I think it was more the 90s where they would just shoot first, ask questions
we
later.
come in peace, shoot to kill, shoot to kill.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But
in 87, all right, fair enough. But I'm still surprised. I mean, I think it would have been reasonable in this situation. They've been known to shoot people like mad people with a machete. I mean, I wasn't even saying that because of our previous conversation, but people who've had psychotic breaks and been wielding a machete have been shot dead by Victoria Police.
Yeah, but I would imagine that some of that would have been from incidents like this.
The trauma of it, yeah.
100%. Yeah. So, in addition to losing his suicide bullet, he'd also lost his knife on the nature strip.
Oh.
So he only had his M14 rifle and 17 rounds of ammunition, having discarded the other 2 firearms.
And it's hard to kill yourself with a rifle. They're very long. It's awkward.
Yeah. You got to have long arms.
It's very awkward, yeah.
So following his decision to withdraw, he turned around and climbed onto the western platform of the Clifton Hill railway station. He ran north along the platform and then continued moving north beside the railway line. He reached a fork in the tracks around 9:46 and decided to follow the left fork. He spotted a police car in the northern end of Hoddle Street and fired 3 shots at it. The police car contained Sergeant Graham Larchin and Senior Constable Betty Roberts, who were not injured by the gunfire, but who abandoned the car after Knight ceased firing.
Yeah, if I can get out of here.
Yeah, correct.
Run.
After firing at Larchin and Roberts' police car, Knight moved into a nearby cluster of trees, sat down and smoked a cigarette.
Fair enough. He had a stressful 20 minutes.
Yeah, correct. Minutes later, the helicopter arrived over the Clifton Hill area and began searching for Knight with a powerful searchlight.
Yeah, this is pre-heat-seeking shit. Yeah.
Correct. And a minute later, D24 ordered Victorian Police's Elite Special Operations Group to attend the scene. So,
I bet they had dogs out too.
Nowadays, that would happen a lot faster, like you were saying. Yeah. But I think, back then...
At this point, he'd be dead because they would have shot him.
Couldn't get him.
Even now, in that scenario, when the number of... Did you say he was surrounded by 40 police?
Yes.
Yeah, in this day and age, if he's still firing on people, they would have said, put your gun down, put your gun down, we're going to shoot you, and then they'd shoot him.
Well, arguably for 15 years afterwards, they just shot anyone who looked like they might have been going to do what...
Well, yes,
any
exactly.
of what he did.
Exactly. And I'm not complaining about this in this scenario, by the way.
Yeah, no, I understand. So he finished his cigarette and continued moving in a northwest direction towards Northcote. He crossed over the Merry Creek, which bordered Clifton Hill and Northcote, and took up a position at the end of a road bridge which spanned the creek. I know that road bridge.
Same.
Just before 10 o'clock, he fired a shot at a passing police officer, Constable Cullen Chambers, who was slightly wounded in the right side. After shooting Chambers, he moved back across Merry Creek into the adjoining suburb of Fitzroy North. The police helicopter had found him in its searchlight and was following him. He ran into a line of trees beside the railway line in an attempt to avoid the searchlight, but at 10:05 broke cover on the railway line, knelt down and fired 3 shots at the aircraft as it circled over him. Now, as I read this, I was like, that's really funny.
No,
as
it's
if.
not.
However, the police helicopter containing Senior Constable Trevor Wilson, Senior Constable Darryl Jones, and Constable Keith Stewart, and Ambulance Officer Alan Scott was hit by the first shot, which pierced its right main fuel tank and forced it to make an emergency landing on one of the sports fields nearby.
Yeah. It's not just a movie thing. You can't.
No.
I mean, you're shooting. If you're lucky and you get it right, you are...
But I was thinking how many...
Well, it wouldn't be that high up, right? So it's not like shooting a helicopter way up in the sky.
No, but he wasn't doing a great job of shooting at cars, and all of a sudden he can hit
But he had 3 different weapons, and perhaps the last weapon was the weapon that he was better with. The 22 he should have... It depends on the scope, and it depends on the rifle itself and how accurate it is. The shotgun, not accurate at all, right?
He's got the cleaver.
Yeah, but the shotgun's more like a mallet. It's not. It's like it's heavy-handed. It's not. You know, depending on how far away you are, it's going to spray the damage. Versus, you know, it's firing shot literally versus a single projectile, which is what the 2 other rifles are doing.
Yeah.
So you got more accuracy in the and sorry, just with the 22. You know, he was warming up at that time. And I think at that point he was probably just going, I'm going nuts. But I'm not sure that he was taking specific aim at people's heads or anything like that. The shotgun, if I'm following the story correctly, was the thing that created the greatest damage and killed people.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was a shit shot, basically. So maybe this one in the helicopter was lucky.
That's why I think my point, that he obviously a bigger caliber, but he was probably a bit lucky too. Probably surprised himself.
If he hadn't stabbed someone in the army, he still wouldn't have done very well because he was a shit shot.
So he continued on into Fitzroy North and headed down McKean Street in an attempt to reach his ex-girlfriend's house. I mean, she'd be wrapped, wouldn't she?
No, surely he was there to kill her.
Mate, I told you I didn't want you back.
Yeah, but...
And this is why.
How many stories do we cover where they're going to kill the girlfriend? Yeah.
So it was now 13 minutes past 10, and he was spotted by 2 police officers, Constable John Delahunty and Constable Ralph Lockman, who gave chase in their police car. As they bore down on him, Knight ducked into a laneway, turned around and fired his last 10 rounds at the police car as it stopped in the middle of the road facing the laneway. Delahunty, who was driving the police car, received minor shrapnel wounds to the face and left hand as he and Lockman tumbled out of the car with revolvers drawn. The police car's headlights were on high beam facing the entrance to the laneway, which also lit up a nearby street light. As Delahunty and Lockman took up positions behind their police car and called upon Knight to surrender, Knight squatted down beside his low brick wall and searched his pockets vainly for his suicide bullet. His woes continue. When he realised that he'd lost it, he leaned out into the headlight beams and dropped the empty M14 on the ground. Then he slowly stood up with his hands in the air. When he was fully upright, Delahunty stepped out from behind the rear of the police car and fired a shot at him. Knight was not hit, but he ducked back down below the low brick wall. As Delahunty and Lockman again continued on him to surrender, he yelled back, "Don't shoot, I'm coming out." I'm assuming the shot wasn't intended to kill him.
Sorry, I didn't hear you. What?
Yeah, right? Yes.
Are you going to shoot at us? Did you just say you're going to shoot at us?
Did you say, "I'm shooting, don't come out"? So he again rose up with his hands in the air before walking out onto the street, where he was arrested by Delahunty and Lockman. Numerous other police officers arrived at the arrest scene, and after a short, initially violent interrogation by officers who, at the time, were wanting to know who his accomplices were, he was driven in an unmarked police car to St Kilda Road Police Complex, and it was here that he was again interrogated extensively. A whole lot of people. I won't go into the names of that. He also took part in a nighttime crime reenactment and a daytime crime reenactment, both of which were videoed. And he was interrogated until he was eventually charged with murder.
Sorry, hang on. What? They took it and said, "Could you just show us what you did?"
100%.
And he did that.
Night and day. Yeah, remember we did this with the Iceland.
Night and day.
Yeah. Let me turn night into day and put a ring on it.
They took him.
Yeah.
Yes, we did it with the Reykjavik 5 or whatever they were. But
yeah.
And Carla's like, sorry, the what?
Yes.
It's funny who doesn't remember a story after we recorded it.
No, I did never.
Even the ones she's researched herself.
Especially.
Coping mechanism. I'll just forget it all. But they did the same sort of thing.
Yeah, correct.
But Wolf, okay, go on.
Just to understand, I guess, from his point of view, what he's saying he did, because he's confessed to it, so they go, well, show us what happened.
It just makes me think of, modern social media, POV. When you're shooting people, this is my point of view.
But also they would have, they were thinking he had accomplices, getting,
okay. So
getting
he
him
was
to show them
proving
what
that
happened.
he was just the one person, the one shooter.
I think so. I'm not 100% sure on that.
Okay.
So he was charged with the murder of John Muscat at 12:20 p.m. on Monday, the 10th of August. So by the end of the night, 7 people were dead and an additional 19 other people were seriously wounded. Excuse me. Now, I won't go into the trial too much. During the trial, it was asserted that he had personality disorder with hysterical features.
Oh, I don't like the word hysterical because it comes from hyster being women's bits. And it's an outdated term.
I don't think many people associate hysterical with women's bits, but
they do.
Thank you for the reference.
Do. Why do you think we say hysterical woman? Because it's all to do with hyster, like hysterectomy, because women are all crazy because of women's things. It's exactly where it comes from, Clarky.
Is that what it is?
Yes.
I'm not saying it's not where it comes
right
from. I'm saying people
don't
just
sheltered.
Sit there and say hysterical in the context of women's bits. They say hysterical in the context of people being hysterical.
Woman. They think of hysterical woman.
No one thinks of womb.
Well, I think you're wrong, but anyway.
They don't go, that woman looks like a womb. She's behaving like a womb.
That woman is behaving like that because of her womb.
No one's saying that.
No,
anyway.
Swanee and I are literally saying that. You're just refusing to listen.
Correct.
He's got womb problems.
Right.
He's got womb madness. See, if you called it womb madness, you'd never say he had hysterical blah blahs, would you?
Remember how I said I was looking forward to seeing how this all came out?
I'm glad I could bring it.
Welcome to the
madness.
Shit Show.
Womb madness. He's got womb madness. That's the name of this episode, by the way. It's womb madness.
Yeah, womb madness. God. So he pleaded guilty to 7 counts of murder and 46 counts of attempted murder.
How many?
And 46 counts of attempted murder. And was sentenced to 7 concurrent terms of life imprisonment with a non-parole period of 27 years.
Hang on. How many counts of actual murder?
7.
So why wasn't he given more counts of time?
Attempted.
For all the attempted murders?
Correct. Also, 27 years non-parole period, which potentially means he would be out when he's 46. So still quite young.
No. Whole life order.
Did not get.
I don't think we have it. Do we have a whole life order in this country? I know they do in the UK.
So we'll get to that shortly because it's interesting. So prison life. So in his prison,
with his homies,
which is maximum security Port Phillip prison, he's had many legal challenges to the Victorian government. His challenge often concern events and occurrences arising during his imprisonment and his dissatisfaction with the prison management and prison discipline. So he spent 12 years of his sentence in high security management facilities.
Mm-hmm. Only 12?
Only 12.
Is he a model prisoner, by any chance?
He's absolutely not.
Has he found God?
Oh. He hasn't.
Well, not good, but,
So on the 20th anniversary of the Hoddle Street massacre, the judge who sentenced him stood by the sentence he gave him, which includes 27 years. No, which includes the 27 years.
Well, apart from that bit. Life.
So I said he had lots of legal challenges. I wrote them all down. I don't think you really want to hear them, but
I don't care.
There's so many that
I'm sure there are, but fuck off, mate. You're staying in jail.
In February 23, it was estimated that the many legal challenges had cost the Victorian government over 250 and approximately 128,000 had been spent since October 2001. External legal advice to deal with his legal appeals and freedom of information requests.
In the grand scheme of things, that's like a piss in the pot. That's nothing. Whatever.
In terms of the dollar value, but in terms of the time, probably not. 19th of October 2004, he was barred from launching any further legal action in Victoria's courts for 10 years. With a judge declared litigant.
He is a vexatious litigant. What a fucking...
Wow.
Womb madness, vexatious... Womb mad, vexatious litigant.
It sounds like you're trying to blame his mum now, and I don't think that's appropriate.
No, he's womb mad. Womad. What's womad? Was that some like...
World
Womack and
Music
Womack.
Festival.
Womack, that's it.
Yeah, World Music Adelaide.
That's it. Not related.
So he was the 13th person to be declared a vexatious litigant in Victoria since 1930 and the first prisoner to be declared. What else can I tell you?
Vexatious litigant. I like it.
In 2008, he made a submission to the Victorian Parliament Law Reform Committee's inquiry into vexatious litigants.
Of course he did.
Fucking hell.
He's a vexatious face.
Here we go.
That, but, I'll bleep it. But
it's escalating.
He's a horrendous individual who's just wasting everyone's time and should rot in a corner somewhere.
In June 2009, he sued Victorian Attorney General Rob Hulls to force him to appear before the Supreme Court and to remove his status as a vexatious litigant. He also claims the status is being used as an instrument of oppression by Corrections Victoria and says his request for access to a personal computer in his cell was denied.
As it is with most people in high security facilities. Fuck off, mate.
Yeah. He's also done things like wants access to rehabilitation programs in prison to improve his chance of parole. Keeps getting rejected. He also sought permission to write a letter of apology and explanation to one of his victims. The court heard prison authorities intercepted a letter Knight had tried to send one of his victims, and he was charged with 2 prison offences and spent 6 days in solitary confinement.
Like he's remorseful. He's not remorseful.
Knight told the court a letter of apology did not fit the prison guidelines for a prohibited letter, stating, "A letter of apology constitutes a facet of my rehabilitation and on a small measure of making amends for my actions."
If that's a word. You are not going to be rehabilitated. You're going to stay in jail forever. You are not a safe individual for the public to accept.
So remember I said that I wanted to give you the full detail of what happened because of, I guess, his mindset and where his view of things is at the moment.
He was only 19. Here we go, yeah.
So here's the kicker. Shortly before Knight became eligible for parole in 2014, the Victorian Parliament passed the Corrections Amendment Parole Act 2014, which amended the Corrections Act 1986 to prevent the Parole Board from ordering Knight's release unless satisfied, amongst other things, that Mr. Knight is in imminent danger of dying or is seriously incapacitated and that, as a result, he no longer has the ability to do harm to any person. Get guns and
hurt people, that's right. Yes. You can only come out if you are on your last legs. Mm-hmm.
So there is a website that I mentioned earlier, julianknight.com.au, that in my opinion is all about painting him as a victim. So it talks about him being a victim of assault at Duntroon Military College. It talks about him being a victim of the legal system working against him, rejecting his assault claims at Duntroon. So they've said, no, that didn't happen. You can't sue people for that. 100%.
In fairness, that could have happened.
But the legal system is saying no evidence of it. Not saying it didn't happen, but no evidence of it.
But there are other people who've definitely evidenced that there have been cases of abuse at Duntroon who didn't go on to kill 7 people and injured
100%.
What was it? 19 or 48,000 or 46?
Yeah, 46 counts of attempted murder.
Fucking hell, right?
He's a victim of illegal. Yes, I agree with you, Kipling. Wise words. Is he part Chewbacca?
He's turned into Arthur. He's decided.
I can see him tapping.
He's a podcasting dog.
He's a podcaster. Come on. Hi.
Yes, you are. So, as I said, victim of the legal system for rejecting his assault claims, as well as determining he's a vexatious litigant. A victim of the media. And to quote the website, this is
including
how bad.
Trial by Wire.
I didn't even want to look at the website because I fear that I'll get...
I'm not looking at it because it's disgusting.
So to quote the website, he's a victim of the... Well, they don't say he's a victim of the media, but the quote from it is, the local media at the time, within days, quickly labelled the shootings as the Hoddle Street massacre. This is inflammatory sensationalism typical of tabloid so-called journalism. So that's kind of the nature of the stories on his website. And then it paints him as a political prisoner due to the change of laws that have kept him in prison as a result of the political change in the law rather than through the legal process of him having parole reviews. Now, interestingly, I did read a long article by The Age which agreed with him being a political prisoner because he's now not subject to any parole reviews. And I guess the other thing the website says is it describes him as a soldier, stating that we consider the title of soldier to be a noble profession the moment a civilian signs up to serve country, followed by training, experience, and sacrifice in battle. Let no person who has ever signed up to serve their country ever hold any doubt as to their rare courage to serve.
Yeah, brilliant. Except that when a soldier goes into a combat scenario, are they supposed to kill civilians? Because that's what happened here.
Unarmed civilians. It's not combat.
You're not a soldier on a normal street with people just going about their business, driving down bloody Hoddle Street, probably trying to get to Smith Street or somewhere like that to have a groovy time, and then you go and shoot them.
So that's more or less the end of the story. The bit I wanted to pose to you now is, given everything that I said to you, and particularly in notion of this political prisoner commentary, how comfortable would you be with him ever receiving parole? And do you feel comfortable he would not do something similar again?
No.
On the scale of 1 to 10, where 0 is not comfortable at all, or 1 is, so rather, not comfortable at all, and 10 is extremely comfortable, I would be saying, I'd be saying 1, if not 0. Not to say that he would. I don't think that he would necessarily be in a position to reoffend in the same way because of our current gun laws that wouldn't give him access to guns, etc., and everyone know who he is. However, on just principle, I would never let that motherfucker out.
Yeah.
Because he's a political prisoner. He's a victim. He's a sad man. Can we just delve into all the people he injured and killed and the families and because I bet you JulianKnight.com doesn't talk about the impact of all the people that he injured, traumatized, and killed.
Correct.
There is nothing victim about him. He took a decision, poor decision. I'll give him that. I'll grant him that. And perhaps he didn't think about living for all this time. And maybe when we talk about sentencing, his current situation is absolutely perfect because he thought he was going to have a suicide bullet and it was all done.
Yeah.
And now he's stuck in this horrendous situation where he's incarcerated and having to do his time. And good. Bully for you, mate. What about all the people that you've affected?
Yeah.
That child whose mother was shot.
While he was sitting on the lap.
Killed while he was sitting on the lap. You know, like, fuck off, mate. You get to stay exactly where you are.
It's that level of outrage that I felt when I'm sitting here listening to and reading some of the stuff on his website. I'm like, my God,
how
do you even know what you did?
How very dare you.
100%. Like, my God. Swanee, comfortable that he wouldn't reoffend? Comfortable with him ever coming out?
Fuck, keep him locked up. I fucking don't want to know. Question, because I haven't been away for a long time. Is he someone who continues to have...
Who's with the alarm?
Maybe a Victorian thing, I don't know. I mean, it's certainly a crime that everyone knows nationally, but do you know what he looks like now? Do they show him on the news? Is it something that's often talked about even outside? Good.
No, there's nothing in the media particularly recently, and I think part of that is because he's been made a vexatious litigant, so he actually can't.
That's good.
They've taken his voice away, right? So
that is good. He shouldn't have had one to start with. The minute he shot someone or shot
we've discussed this at various points about how you punish someone like that.
Yes,
the vexatious litigant and
done a great job of it. Yeah,
the changing the parole laws to me are entirely appropriate. I would feel scared if he came out again. I remember that situation very well. The train line is one that we used to catch all the time. Yeah. The road is one that, when I got my license, I would drive down all the time. But even as a passenger in other people's cars, we went down that road all the time.
Whether you're on that road or not, you have a right to drive around the state, Victoria, anywhere, and not be shot at.
100%. But so I don't I don't care that he feels like he's hard done by, because
Neither do
what
I.
he did...
He's not hard done by. He killed 7 people and injured a ton more and traumatised the state.
It is bad that you're in this situation, and have a think about what you did.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
Take a good hard look at yourself, my friend. You're not getting out. No way.
No, Julian.
The only thing that I'd like to add to it from a sentencing perspective, because I think, like, I love vexatious litigation. It sounds fantastic.
It does,
and taking his voice away and all the rest of it. I mean, seriously, our current legal system has nailed it on this occasion. But I'd like to add, in a trial by wines world, going back to our analogy of paring knives and cleavers, I'd like to put him on a wheel of death type thing, like what was it, Clint Eastwood in one of those shit films where he shot the balloons out, one of those things. But Julian Knight is strapped to a wheel that is spinning and spinning, and we're throwing cleavers. And we don't really care if they hit him or not because we're not trained cleaver throwers. I think I'll go with that too.
He just scares the hell out of me. I just find that horrendous. That's like when I think of people who probably look like everybody else, that idea of just like this loose cannon who's just like going to...
The worst part about it, from my perspective,
keep
is
going until he's stopped.
Yeah, instead of saying I'm a bit psychotic and I had a break or anything like that, he's just like, it's everyone else's fault. I had a bad day at the office. I'm just going to,
I was abused at Duntroon.
I
did stab someone, which is kind of
my
abuse.
mum replaced my room. My car broke down.
I lost my suicide bullet.
There's that.
Fuck my life.
We all have very bad days. FML for sure, but not fuck 7 other people's lives and all the... It's one thing to say fuck my life, it's another to fuck up all these other people's lives. Correct. And the long-term implications on our state too. So, you can rot in hell and rot in jail.
I'd also like to credit the 1985 Melbourne High School yearbook that referred to him as Julian Swappo Knight and said he...
What mean, though? I was going to ask you at the time.
I don't know,
what
but it's this bit that's important. They said that he inherited the role of cadet unit loony and political agitator.
I know, when you said that, I thought, oh, God, here we go.
God.
They nailed it.
They
were psychological profilers before
and the
their
vexatious
time.
litigant. Yeah. Wow.
100% nailed it, yeah.
Yeah, so...
no other notes on sentencing? We're happy?
Yeah.
I think that, like you said, I think the political system has got it right. And I think that he is...
Yeah.
He's either suffering in prison or pretending to suffer in prison.
Either way, I don't care.
I don't want to give him a profile. I don't want to give him anything. I want him to be sort of
Shame
forgotten.
we did an episode on him then. Anyway.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
So to our one new listener in Germany, please don't make a big fuss about this man.
Yeah, keep it on the low key, please.
Keep it under your hat.
Yeah.
That's right.
Keep it stum.
And on that note, as we say every week, miss you already. Ciao.
Ciao.
Ciao, ciao.
Thanks for listening to Trial by Wine. You can contact us at trialbywine@gmail.com. Please rate, review and subscribe to Trial by Wine on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. If you'd like to support us, you can become a patron at www.patreon.com, Trial by Wine, or visit our website www.trialbywine.com to donate to us. Your support will help us cover many more cases and apply wacky sentences. We really appreciate you listening and hope you tell everyone about us. Our cover art is by John Christo and music is by Beauchamp from pixabay.com.